Welcome to the Subway Conversation welcome to season 3, episode 3 of the Subway Conversation Chat. I'm your host, Jamie Malloy, ready to discuss some New York Yankees and New York Mets baseball with you all and my co-host, Joe Dahlia. So, without any further hesitation, here's Joe. Hey, Joe, how's it going?
Good evening. It is doing great. You sound very excited, as you should be. Your team is playing some amazing baseball lately. So is mine, luckily. So looks like we're going to have a lot of good stuff to talk about tonight.
Yeah. And Joe, I actually got something to tell you. There's this baseball show that I go on Saturday night with Adam and Paul and some of those guys on Jeremy's channel. And guess what did you hear? They made a new rule with some of the ballparks, like at the Kansas City Royals ballpark and all the 32 ballparks. They got rid of all the corners in the right field, so they made their field dimensions be like Yankee Stadium, to try to have more home runs. So now every ballpark, now you got to pop. They want it to be every ballpark. Now you got to pop the ball up for a home run now. What do you think of that?
I guess so. In fact, I was watching a Royals game the other night. Just happened to have it on. And, thanks to T-Mobile, I get to sample all the teams. They give us MLB TV for free. So I was watching that game, and they said that at what is it, still Kauffman Stadium, or even if it's not, it is, in my opinion, Kauffman Stadium had pulled in their fences. So we'll see if it makes a difference in offensive production there. I always thought Kauffman was a hitter's park anyway, wasn't it? I'm not 100% on that, but
but it was more of a small ball type of park, hitter's park.
Okay. So I guess they're looking to make it a big ball park and, again, pop it up to right field. You think on a hot, humid day in Yankee Stadium, the ball flies out. I can imagine in Kansas City on a hot, humid night how that ball's going to fly.
Yeah, because the MLB's trying to, make an initiative. How all the other leagues, like they're high scoring. They're trying to make baseball, more high scoring type of games.
Yeah, and I don't think they need much help. You got so many amazing hitters, and the run totals are already a lot higher in the last few years. The home run isn't as big maybe as it was a few years ago, but still, there's a lot of scoring in baseball. So, again, I'm never going to argue with it, but you don't want to get it too far out of hand. But I think the scoring in baseball hasn't really needed much help in the last few years.
You know what I think is also, well, don't forget, I think the ABS challenge system has a lot to do with that too now.
Yep. And I saw it in action just watching the Mets game a little while ago too. It made a difference in the game in a positive way. It went against the Mets, but I'll share that in a little bit.
Anyway, so Joe, would you like to start us off with some Mets news?
I would love to start us off with some Mets news. And now, as far as like transactions or player movement, nothing really going on there. Now, some injuries here. The good news is the injuries, for the most part, aren't too significant. The bad news is one of their best players is on the shelf here. Now, Juan Soto highlights the most significant injury. When I was looking at this a couple of days ago, he was day-to-day. He had a right calf strain in one of the games against the Giants. And in fact, my original write-up in my notes here said he's day-to-day. But then it's like an hour after I wrote that, got the notification that he was officially put on the IL, and he's going to be out for about 2 to 3 weeks. So again, hopefully it's just a calf strain. It doesn't lead to anything else. So the question is, can they play without him? Well, so far, I think the answer is a resounding yes. Now, before today's game, because again, I hate when the Mets play afternoon games on our podcast days because it kind of throws off my stats. I usually do them, the day before or even, leading up to this podcast here. But you kind of threw me off here. But anyway, before today, in the 17 innings that he had been out so far, they had scored 17 runs. So Jared Young filling in, doing a great job. Another Met named Vientos, and I'm going to share some of his amazing stats when I get to that segment after you. But still, they're going to miss Juan Soto, obviously. I'm watching today's game. It was a close game, and a few times they had the opportunities the Mets had to break it open. I kept thinking, wow, it would be nice if Soto was here right now, because maybe he would be the one to do that. So he will be missed, although with the level of depth this team has, I think they're in good shape if he's going to be gone only 2 to 3 weeks. Now, a couple of minor things here, too. Brett Beatty jammed his thumb on Saturday, I believe, and he missed Sunday's game, and he was day-to-day. They weren't sure how he was going to do or when he was going to be back, if he was going to be out a little bit longer. That question was answered today, though, because he did play in today's game. So he did okay. I think he went 1 for 4 in today's game. Didn't seem to show any negative effects of that at the plate. Veteran Jorge Polanco, one of the guys they picked up in the offseason, he's dealing with some left Achilles tendonitis. Now, whenever you hear Achilles, of course, red flags go off, and it's something to keep an eye on. Now, what the Mets are saying here is, they're not going to put him on the IL, unless it really flares up. Kind of day-to-day, keep an eye on it. A little more rest maybe than he would typically have. He was going to play first base, but pretty much DHing in the games that he does play. They were considering an IL stent, but like I said, they're going to keep an eye on that. Now, the only thing with him is he's had some injury concerns before, so hopefully this is not something that flares up or again, other things flare up. He did play today, though. I don't think he got a hit in today's game, but he did play. So again, he's going to get that time. He's just probably going to be DHing most of the time that he does play. So that's it basically as far as the minor injuries. I shared some of the injuries last week that I won't revisit, about McGill and, Reed Garrett, who are going to be gone the entire season. So we'll, that's unfortunately going to be the case all year. So again, right now, minor injuries. Again, you don't exactly want to call Soto a minor one, but luckily it's only 2 to 3 weeks, and it looks like he's going to be back in good shape. So that's it as far as Mets news and injuries and things like that here. We'll go over the stats later on. But first, let me send it over to you, Jamie, and let us know what's going on with Yankees news.
Certainly. Well, guess what? On the Yankees injury report, guess what? I may have to warm up my vocals because, Joe, this is the first time you're going to hear this name this season. It's none other than right-handed pitcher Clark Schmidt.
I couldn't wait for him to get called up.
Yep. Who's recuperating from Tommy John surgery. Schmidt planned on throwing bullpen sessions at the end of March. This is a major progression as it shows his transformation from throwing on flat ground to pitching on a mound.
Mm-hmm.
He is believed to face live hitters if all goes well at the end of April or early May. Expected return second half of 2026.
Good. So
that's going to be a real big bonus because the good news is Luis Hill, who I'm going to get to. I'll hold that for a second. He was from elbow. He's still recovering from elbow surgery. Hill's return to the team could come as early as Friday, as the Yankees first came back at Tropicana Field in Florida. So they expect them to make a season debut in Florida, which means no more 4-man rotation.
Yeah, there you go. Now, Jamie, I'm going to steal some of your thunder. You know what the fans are going to do when Schmidt gets back, right?
What?
They're all going to cheer. Da, 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 right?
I got it. So anyway, he made a start this past Sunday for AAA Scranton Wilkes-Barre against the local team from my neck of the woods, the Rochester Red Wings, the Nationals Farm Club, and they won 16-5, the Scranton did. So if all goes well, the right-handed pitcher may be elevated to the Yankees rotation this Friday as the team travels to St. Petersburg to take on the Rays. So the good news is, like I said, they're not going to have the 5-man rotation. They're not going to have the 4-man rotation, and that means he's another placeholder to come back for when Carlos Rodon and Garrett Cole eventually come back. So they could have all their guys back for the first half, and then if Clark Schmidt could come back in the second, this pitching staff could be lights out. We'll see.
Yeah, that's right. A lot of depth. And of course, you need that as you get closer to the postseason too, which they're probably going to be a part of.
And their depth in the minor leagues is really good too. Like Ben Hess had like 7 strikeouts in his first game this year with Double-A Somerset, so that's good to see in the minors. And then Carlos Lagrange, you're not gonna believe they said he blew up the Raider gun at the Rochester Red Wings. He was actually toppling 103 on his fastballs.
Oh my goodness!
As a starter, he's in AAA, and guess what? They may want to call him up too for the prospect initiative, so they could get an extra first round pick. So they got pitchers everywhere from all levels of the minor leagues to their bullpen and even to the majors. So they're set there. And anyway, back to our regular schedule program. The Bombers haven't played at Tropicana Field since July 2024. It was devastated by Hurricane Milton in October 2024. It drove the Rays to play their 2025 home games at George M. Steinbruner Field in Tampa, Florida. Okay. Yankees make history on Saturday with win in the longest 9-inning MLB game since the introduction of the pitch clock.
Wow.
The New York Yankees-Marlins game took 3 hours and 47 minutes with the pitch clock and with pitches galore. The MLB last had a 9-inning game go that long was a 3-hour, 57-minute game with runs aplenty as the Boston Red Sox won 13-9 over Baltimore on September 27, 2022, as per Eliash. So that was the longest game go that long was that was before the pitch clock. But Joe, get this. I wonder if you know this since you're a Mets fan. The last high for a 9-inning pitch clock game was a 3-hour and 45-minute thriller when the then Oakland Athletics defeated the New York Mets 7-6 on August 15, 2024. Do you remember that game or not?
No, I don't actually. That's interesting that the Mets would be involved with that. Before the pitch clock, I mean, a game like you were talking about, a 3-hour, 50-minute game would be the norm, but no, I don't remember that Mets game. That's interesting.
Mm-hmm. So anyway, New York and Miami totaled a combination of 379 pitches by 13 pitchers.
Wow.
And the Marlins hurlers threw 10 walks, increasing their total to their total to 21 through the first 2 games of the series. The Yankees had 21 walks in the first 2 games. Of the 21 runners left on base, 12 were by Miami. So if we do the math, what does that mean for the Yankees, Joe? 9 were left over.
That's it.
Anyway, MLB's average time of a 9-inning game decreased from 304 in 2022 to 240 in 2023 when the pitch clock was instituted, and decreased to 236 in 2024, the lowest since 235 in 1984. Before the pitch clock, right? Mm-hmm. In 2025, it climbed up to 238. And then in 2016, the MLB finally passed the average time finally passed 3 hours. And then in 2021, the game was 3 hours and 10 minutes. The average time was 3 hours and 10 minutes in 2021. In 2022, it dropped down to 304 with the PitchCom electronic pitching calling device helping. So they put that in, and then the pitch clock the following year.
In 23, that started, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, Joe, what do you think? Or what do you think of that Yankees game past your Mets for the longest 9-inning game in the pitch clock era?
Yeah, you're still going to get games like that, just because there was a lot of. Is that the game that they were losing badly and came back and won like 9-8 or 8-7, whatever it was?
9-7, yes. I think it was
Okay.
that game.
So again, there was just a ton of runs scored, and there was going to be games like that. It just before the pitch clock, though, it seemed like almost every other game was like that. And just now, again, don't get me wrong, I love baseball, and I could watch baseball every night. But it got to a point where it's like, look, I don't have 3 hours and 15 minutes and 3.5 hours to watch a game. I sometimes I wouldn't even start watching a game because it's like, I know I can't finish watching this game. I just don't have that kind of time. So now I think they got it exactly where it should be, and again, that's baseball and that's how it's always been. Now people are complaining with the pitch clock because you get some games that are like 2 hours and 2 minutes, right? People feel gypped if they go to a game like that, but still you're going to get a game like the other night, which was a very exciting game. It wasn't a long game because people were dragging their feet and they were just wasting time and going to the mound every other minute. It was because there was a lot of runs scored and there was a lot of stuff going on and a team made a great comeback. And that's why that game took as long as it did. And you don't mind watching a game for almost 4 hours if it's going to be like that. It was just those other ones where nothing was happening and they were just wasting time. So I say it all the time. People agree, people disagree. Best thing that happened in modern day baseball is the pitch clock.
Mm-hmm. It was. Does it feel nostalgic to have a long game like that in the new pitch clock era, you think?
It does, but it kind of brings back some bad memories too. Again, how many times did the Yankees and Red Sox just play a regular 9-inning game that lasted that long, right? It seems like every time those teams met, they had games like that. So again, a game like this would be typical back 5 years ago. So yes, it's kind of nostalgic, but it's funny because back then in 2021, when these games were taking 1,000 years to play, I'd watch old games and get nostalgia and be like, okay, why can't the games be like that? Look at the pitcher. He's getting the ball. And what does he do when he gets the ball? He throws it. And then he gets the ball back. And guess what he does? He throws it again right away. And why can't these guys do it today? Now, luckily, they're forced to. So that was the nostalgia, that I had back then. But yeah, I'm just glad we have what we have now.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Anyway, Giancarlo Stanton used his bat, but he also used his legs. When has that ever happened? The nimble Giancarlo Stanton.
Yeah, right. I'm listening because I want to hear about this.
Okay, here we go. The Yankees have been embracing aggressiveness and athleticism as their defining traits Saturday. And also added resilience too. The usually gimpy Giancarlo Stanton was nimble on this day, actually, as he caught the Marlins falling asleep on the base paths before hitting a tie-breaking 2-run single as the Yankees rallied from a 9-7 victory on a raw, rainy night at Yankee Stadium. And we have a quote by Stanton here. If there's outs on the board, we got a chance, Stanton said. We got a lot of capable guys, 1 through 9, and even off the bench. It took more than 1 through 9 today, so that shows our resilience. Mm-hmm. The Yankees boast an MLB best 7-2, but at the time it was 7-1, matching their best start in 8 games since 2003.
Wow.
What did they do that year? They went to the World Series.
Yeah.
We have a quote here. That's a great win, said Cody Bellinger, who ignited the comeback with the 2-run homer in the 5th. Wins come in many different ways, and that was just a well-thought-out game. Both teams kept punching each other's back, just like turnovers come in bunches, Joe. Wins sometimes come in bunches early in the year when you got a team like the Yankees.
That's right.
Mhm. And anyway, New York climbed back to erase an early 4-0 deficit. Bellinger's first homer of the season rattled starter Max Meyer and a toward for his fifth inning error which brought in a run. A 3 spot in the 6th changed the outing with hits from Trent Grisham and Aaron Judge driving in runs. Then Bellinger lifted a sacrifice fly to give the Yankees their first lead of the game. We have a quote here. The quality of at-bats never went away, manager Aaron Boone said. It is a scoring competition, not a hit competition. It seemed like everyone had a big at-bat tonight in some way, shape, or form. Stanton began the 7th inning with a walk. And with Miami trying to pick him off, Stanton didn't hesitate and recorded his first stolen base. What?
Right.
Since game 3 of the 2024 ALDS against the Royals.
Wow.
I know.
I'd be asleep if he was on the bases too. I mean, who would expect him to be trying to steal a base?
Especially with all the injuries. With all the injuries he's had, it's like he can only run at one speed now.
Right. Right.
Anyway, well, no. If you think about it, Joe, it's like the scene of Willy Wonka where Gene Wilder's got the cane and everything, and he's walking really, really, really slow, and then he does a somersault at the end. I wonder if you could call Giancarlo Stanton Willy Wonka for that.
Yeah, you got to be careful with him too. He's so fragile. You don't want him to be like on the IL and it's like, well, how did he get hurt? Stealing a base?
Right, yeah. I forgot. I didn't think about that. So let's see. After advancing on a ground out, Stanton ran for base, ran for home on a wild pitch to the excitement of his teammates banging on the dugout rail. And we have another quote from Belly. That was good. The boys were fired up, Bellinger said. That was a huge extra run there. He's just playing really well, and it's really good to see. Their pitching, unfortunately, wasn't as sharp as Stanton, which that's usually not the case.
Right. Not that night anyway.
Right. Ryan Weathers, son of 1996 Yankees World Series pitcher David Weathers, stumbled in 3 2/3 innings pitched. He threw 88 pitches for 53 strikeouts. The 53 strikeouts were good, just too many pitches in the third.
Mm-hmm.
So he was still at least delivering strikeout stuff. So that's encouraging.
Yes.
It was the first Bomber starter, to allow at least 3 hits this season. We have a quote from him. I was ahead in the counts and just couldn't put guys away, Weathers said. When I was over the plate tonight, I gave up a lot of weak contact and some weak hits. Those, I just have to live with them. This offense can win us a lot of ball games. And we have a quote too. Camilo Doval had a rocky outing in the 8th, giving up Javier Santana's game-tying 2-run double. The Yanks responded in the home half, including Stanton's grounder, fueling Michael Peterson, which scooted past shortstop Otto Lopez to put New York on top. And we have another quote here. He gave me his whole arsenal, so I just wanted to stay back and make him play defense, Stanton said. It wasn't ideal conditions out there, so as long as I put the ball in play, it was important. The 9th was sloppy as jazz. Chisholm Jr. was slow delivering a throw to first base after fielding Lopez's inning-opening grounder, a play that Boone said should have been completed. And we have a quote. He just kind of laid back on it, Boone said. Credit to Lopez, who was getting down the line in a hurry. Chisholm probably figured he had plenty of time, but when he's got to close on it, we got to make that one. Lopez was marked with an infield hit that set the tone for David Bednar's 33 pitch inning. 3 nights. 3 nights after a 40 pitch outing in Seattle. Bednar struck out Griffin Colmice with the bases juiced on 3 pitches for his fourth save. He phrases this saying, "Buckle up, find a way no matter what." And we have a quote here. I just think it just shows the leader or the grit of our ball club. Bednar said, "We got a really talented group. It really tested us today, but we came out on top." So, Joe, what do you think of Stanton and Bednar stepping up during pressure cooker situations to win that game 9-7 on Saturday against kind of a upstart Marlins team, an up-and-coming Marlins team?
Yeah, good teams win games that they're not supposed to win. And the Yankees were not supposed to win that game. I mean, just they were outplayed for 7 innings, or I didn't see that game. I saw them getting crushed. I saw the score. And then I was shocked when I saw the score later that night or in the morning, whatever. I was like, how in the world did they win this game? So for those guys to step up and make it happen or help make it happen, I think is incredible. And again, that's what good teams do. How many times have we said it on this show and all throughout, and have we heard it? Good teams find ways to win. Bad teams find ways to lose. Good teams find ways to win. And again, they find ways to win games that often that they're not supposed to win. And this was one that they weren't supposed to win, and they pulled it out. So again, sign of a great team.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And how does Ryan Weathers make it through the rough? How does Ryan Weathers make it through? Sorry, let me try again. Okay. And how does Ryan Weathers make it through? Here's a pun: a stormy outing. Ryan Weathers.
Well, I'll give you another pun. In order to get through that storm, you got to fight like Carl Weathers. All right, there you go.
Oh, I get it.
Yeah.
Anyway, and bounce back for future starts.
You fight through it, and again, I joking there, but half of that is serious. You just fight through it and you learn from it. And, you just like everything in life, you figure out what you did wrong and you try to fix it and you do better next time. Simple as that.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. You got to fight for your right to earn starts. Anyway, so let's turn back over to you, Joe, for some more Mets news. Joe?
All right. Thanks, Jamie. Great stuff as always. And we'll start with the past week with the Mets, which was a very good one. Didn't start that way. Now, again, I'm going to have to kind of throw in some of the Mets stats here as we go along. So before today, they were 3-2 during the week, a 3-game winning streak. But they won in extra innings today, so we can make that 4-2 now since Wednesday. Okay, and before today, they had outscored their opponents 27-14. So I believe they won 4-3 today, if I'm not mistaken. 4-3 or 5-4. We're going to say 4-3. So that would be 31-17. So that's an average of about 5-3. As far as the Mets winning. Now, they had lost the last game in St. Louis, actually, I think the last 2 in St. Louis, and lost the first game in San Francisco. So they had a 3-game losing streak, but then just exploded in San Francisco and made the Giants look bad. And the Giants have done a good job of looking bad this year. But again, good week for the Mets there. Now, let's talk about some hitting. Now, I kind of stick to the basic stats. I move up in the world every once in a while. Like OPS to me is like the gem of easy stats because it factors in on base percentage, it factors in slugging percentage, so the how big your hits are, not just hits. But I found another one here that I discovered because I'm going to use a Mets player as an example. I've been reading about a stat and trying to follow some of these ones. And I've always sworn, Jamie, that I wasn't going to care about launch angle and hard hit rate and all that. But I'm starting to think that these stats actually do mean something. There's a stat called WRC plus. Have you ever heard of that?
I have, yeah.
Okay. And as I was reading about it, it takes in more than even the OPS that's my favorite stat. It takes in a lot of those things as far as not only getting on base, as far as slugging percentage, as far as the quality of your hits, but it also measures things such as like where these hits are. You get more points to this, I guess, if your hits are in a place like San Francisco, for example, than you would if you're getting these hits in like Colorado or even maybe Yankee Stadium or something like that, where it's a little easier to get power numbers and stuff like that. So I guess the standard is 100. Okay, so if you're over 100, then you're that percentage, I guess, higher than the average major league player. Now, again, I was talking about Juan Soto being out and guys stepping up. Well, Mark Vientos is almost on another planet if you take these stats here. So, again, 100 is the standard, and maybe it's not the biggest sample size yet, but he's at currently a 254 WRC+. So that's like, what, 250% higher than the average. Now, here's some of the simple numbers that will help that. A 476 batting average over this time. Now, this doesn't include today's game. Again, I hate when those games happen because I'm going to give you a whole bunch of stats for him and for some other players. And today's game, it was like almost exactly the opposite. So Vientos had a subpar game today. Of course, now that I'm reading all this information, but I'm going to read it anyway. Before today, 476 batting average, 714 slugging percentage. All right. And that's in 7 games, with 23 plate appearances. Now, his strikeout percentage, this is another thing. I didn't look up, I should have, what the average strikeout percentage is for a major league player as of now. His is only 13%. Okay. And again, a home run, 4 RBIs, and a 1328 OPS. Now, I use OPS all the time, and we know anything, 7 or 750, 800 is like good. I mean, he's at 1328 as far as OPS. So kudos to him. And again, if players are going to step up like that, I talked about Jared Young, who had a couple of great games, in replacing Soto over the weekend. If they're going to have games like this, that's going to make these 2 to 3 weeks without Soto go a lot faster. Okay. Luis Robert Jr., I was curious to see how he was going to do in a place like Citi Field, where offensive numbers are not as easy to attain as maybe they are in Comiskey Park. But he's doing pretty good. Now, his thing is walks. He's got a 21% walk rate here, just finding ways to get on base. And I think he had a walk today as well. And his WRC plus is 173. And he's stealing bases too. He's got a couple of steals as well. So, he wasn't really, I don't think, going to be counted on to be a speed guy, but he's playing some darn good center field, first of all. And compare that to the power they have in the lineup. And he's actually been one of the most powerful guys anyway. He got the walk-off hit like the second game of the year. And, again, a couple of stolen bases and getting on base and scoring runs. So definitely a great start for Robert Jr. so far. Now, Francisco Alvarez is the early home run leader for the Mets. He had 2 this week. He's got a total of 3 for the season. That leads the team. Nobody else has more than 1. But 1,000 OPS this week. So nice job by Francisco Alvarez, even finding ways to get on base today. He had his hands sawed off in 45 degrees, holding the stick of the handle of the bat is running to first. He got a hit out of it. And just, again, him too, finding ways to get on base. Marcus Semien with a home run, 4 RBIs, 1,008 OPS this week. Even Tyrone Taylor, even though he only hit 154, a home run and 4 RBIs as well. So some good hitting performances. Hopefully the real Francisco Lindor shows up. He had 20 at-bats this week, 2 hits, and I think they were both singles. So he does not have a home run or an RBI all season. So that's a little on the crazy side. Let's look at pitching here. Now, the Mets pitching has been amazing. A 2.53 ERA before today's game. And, again, some of those trendy stats that I'm not going to really share here until I get to learn them a little bit. But still, those stats are good. But now here's some simple ones for anybody watching. Again, I don't want your heads to spin. So we'll try to keep things simple. Mets are striking out 24% of batters while walking just 9%. So a big contrast there. And I think that's a stat there that shows, how well these guys are doing. Now, David Peterson, who had a good start, his first one got rocked this week. 9 hits, 5 earned runs, and only 4 1/3 innings. David Lovelady got hit hard, but he's been getting hit hard all year. We'll see how long he sticks around. But let's talk about some of the positives. Remember some guy named Kodai Senga, right? And he's got that ghost forkball. Well, I think it's working again, okay? Because he has, so far in the games he's pitched, a 34% strikeout rate. That I don't know what the average is, but something tells me 34% is a lot higher than the actual average. So 16 strikeouts and 11 2/3 over the season. So again, I think the ghost fork is back, and those ghosts are going to be hanging at Citi Field if he keeps this up. So he looks as unhittable as he did a couple of years ago when he was on a roll with that pitch. Clay Holmes, again, they were wondering, could this guy start? Can he last as a starter? Well, how about pitching 7 innings this week and only giving up 3 hits, no earned runs? A high-quality start there. Nolan McLean, 5 1/3, only gave up a hit and an earned run. I'll say only had 4 strikeouts because he's known for his strikeouts, but still, you're going to pitch 5 1/3 with only a hit and a run given up. I think that's pretty darn good. Now, Freddie Peralta had a much better start. He went 5 1/3 with 1 earned run, 3 hits. Now, he pitched today, and he pitched quite well. He went, I believe, 4 2/3, and he did end up giving up 3 runs in the 4 2/3. They were saying as I was watching the game today that he struggles in the first inning, which he always has his career. And every game this year, he seemed to have his problems in the 5th inning. And he was cruising. He had thrown a lot of pitches. He had already thrown like almost 80 pitches, I think, before he got there. Again, he got to the 5th inning and then just struggled, got hit, left some guys on base. And the bullpen, which has been doing great, gave up a couple of hits to get those runs in. So, but overall, the bullpen's been shutting the door. And they basically did after this because those 3 runs were charged to Peralta, but they didn't give up another run the rest of the game. Brooks Raley came in today, pitched in the 8th. He has not given up a run all season. He's got a 0 ERA still. Before today's game, Huáscar Brazoban was in the same situation, and I think he's still at 0. I think those runs, he came in today and he gave up a couple of hits with guys on base, so he couldn't hold them. I don't think any of those runs were charged to him. I think they were all charged to Peralta. So Brazoban may be at a 0 ERA as well. Speaking of high strikeout percentages, Devin Williams, the new closer they picked up in place of Edwin Diaz, he's got a 31% strikeout percentage already here. And, again, these late inning arms are locking down and definitely making a difference. And again, after that fifth inning, the guys that came in, they picked up another pitcher named Luis Garcia, who had struggled the first couple of times he pitched this year. 2 shutout innings today to hold and give the Mets a chance to get back in the game, which they did. So the Mets are doing it by pitching here, but again, they're hitting as well. And again, is sitting in a good position so far. Now, if we look to the upcoming week, they have the 2 more games with Arizona. They won this first one today. And again, we talked about teams winning games that maybe they shouldn't have. And today was one of those for the Mets. I mean, they weren't behind like as much as the Yankees were. But again, losing this game from the 5th inning all the way until the 8th, and then find a way to tie it and then win it in extra innings. So, again, a good win for the Mets today. 2 more at home against Arizona. Tomorrow's game, just like today, they played it early because of cold in New York. Now, they were complaining, and then Mets announcers are complaining the whole game. I'm sure it was cold. I wouldn't enjoy sitting 45 degrees with 20-mile-an-hour winds. But I'm not going to complain too much as I watched it from my living room, first of all. And I woke up here in Buffalo, New York, to a 13-degree wind chill. So I'm not going to listen to other people complain about it. Although, again, sitting out and watching that game, I'm sure was pretty cold. So the 7 o'clock game that was scheduled for tomorrow has also been moved to 4 o'clock. And Thursday's game is scheduled for 7, and they're scheduled to keep it that way. So then those games, and then over the weekend, Sacra Vegas is in town. The Sacra Vegas A's come to Citi Field. And the A's off to a slow start. They have a nice up-and-coming team. And, again, as I look at some of these, StatCast stats here, there's quite a few A's that are pretty high on that list. So I think it's only a matter of time before they get it going. So hopefully, the Mets are getting them now while they're still struggling, and they could take at least 2 out of 3 from that series against the A's. Now, this time next week, we're going to be talking about 3 games in Los Angeles. What do they call it? Chavez Ravine, Dodger Stadium. So a big 3-game series Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday next week against the Dodgers. So that's basically it from this end as far as Mets news and some statistical things to, show how well they're doing. And hopefully they can keep this up. So I'm going to send it back to you, and let's hear about some more Yankees news, Jamie.
Well, thank you, Joe. So now we're going to talk about Ben Rice. How has Ben Rice been whole grain at the plate so far this season?
You want to talk about StatCast before you get to that? I'm looking at the StatCast list. I think Ben Rice has got to be one of the, if not the best hitters in baseball so far, but I'll let you explain further.
Mm-hmm. A converted catcher to a first baseman. Rice is picking up where he was last year, batting .409 with a 1364 OPS and 2 homers and 4 doubles. This was coming from a mile away, as Rice had just an 836 OPS, 26 home runs, and 65 RBIs last year. I know, just, right? And guess what? This year, he's just picking up where he left off, right, Joe?
Right. He's out. What'd you say? 1,300?
1364 OPS. Yeah.
That's amazing.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. And he's smacking the ball too.
Yep. He's got that exit velo.
That's it.
Mm-hmm. Yep. As per baseball's scoring, Rice was, as per baseball score, Rice was one of the most unfortunate hitters in 2025. Mm-hmm. This is because he registered one of the highest XWO BAs, XWOBA, and XWOB the A. Anyway, in all of the MLB, averaging um, averaging 394. His expected batting average of 285 was also significantly lower than his actual average of 255. His average exit velocity, barrel rate, hard hit rate, and in chase rate were also in the top 10% of all qualified hitters last season. And as you mentioned, he's one of the best hitters in the league so far.
Yep.
Anyway, but I'm going to use a term that my late grandpa used to say back in the day. This one's for you up here, Poppy. You're going to be watching over me saying this right now. The law of average could have told you that all those hard hit balls would turn into hits rather than tough outs. Rice's analytics from his hot 2026 search show that 2025 wasn't a fluke.
Yeah.
It was, in fact, a glimpse of what's to come for one of New York and now the league's best hitters so far. Rice has become a factor on defense too. And with Austin Wells already locked in as a Yankees first string catcher, Rice. Let me see. Hold on. Oh, Rice. Rice also shares first base with Paul Goldschmidt, and whatever powder Goldschmidt must have on is rolling off on Rice. Anyway, on top of being a starting first baseman, he can also be a reliable bench catcher for the Yankees and for the other 31 clubs in the MLB. So, Joe, what has made Ben Rice have another hot start to 2026 after having a solid 2025 season as a first full-time major leaguer?
Yeah, well, we say it all the time. The numbers don't lie. And like you said, now I was not aware of how good his analytics were last year. Again, he was just getting some bad luck, and the numbers proved it. And again, show that it was just a matter of time until this happened. And you were talking about that law of averages. There you go, because it's, it's showing. And again, as I look at those stats, those some of the ones that you mentioned, that barrel rate, and I'm starting to learn all that stuff a little bit. Me and stats are like, grain on rice. I'm attracted to stats like that, and I was never a big fan of those, but I'm starting to learn them a little bit, and I'm starting to realize
or
again,
Mrs. Potts and Chip.
There you go. They don't lie, and so I'm going to get to learn them a little bit and see things like this. But everything I look at, like every one of those that I look at, Ben Rice's name is coming up, and just this stat is incredible. And then I look at the next one, which is more incredible. And then I look at the next one, which is even more. And he's not doing this just, when the score is 7-1 and getting a big hit. He's doing this when they need him to get hits and hit the ball hard. So, this, I don't think it's a fluke, because again, if the numbers were the other way, if the numbers were not that impressive, and let's say he had a high batting average, you might say, okay, this isn't going to continue. But the fact that he's smacking the ball and again, showing up and hitting the balls at such a great rate and high quality, that tells me that this isn't going to stop anytime soon.
And how can he take that next step in his development? He's already doing it now, but how can he go take it even further?
It's ironic, because what I'm going to answer is, in order to take the next step, he's just got to keep doing what he's doing. and just, realize, I guess, how valuable he is, and just, again, keep learning. And, he's still going to go through slumps, and he's still going to have periods where he hits the ball hard and it's right at somebody and he goes 1 for 10, even though he's hitting the ball hard. But if he can keep doing this, keep doing what you're already doing, I think that's automatically going to take him to the next level, just on its own.
Okay. Anyway, now we're going to move on to how the Yankees can already set themselves up for October and April. And you're probably thinking, how's that even possible? Well, I'm going to tell you guys. There's still a ton of baseball to play. While you can't face the Dodgers in the Fall Classic in April, it appears the Yanks want to be sure already that there's no three-peat or a lockout early in the season next year. The Yankees entered Saturday night's contest 6-1 ahead of the Toronto Blue Jays, who were 4-3, and the surprisingly slumping Red Sox at the time were 2-5, then were 2-6. Fox Graphs had the Fangraphs had the Yankees as a 38.3% chance to win the AL East, with a 71% chance overall chance of making the playoffs already, and it's only April 7th. Compare that to 23.8, 61.2%, and 17.9%, 53% for the Sox and Jays, respectively. And the Bombers were considered slim favorites to take back the divisional title from the Blue Jays. The Yankees now have their chances increased to win the East. And while turnarounds can absolutely still happen, the bottom may well end up falling out of a Red Sox team that came into the season with high expectations. The Yankees need to keep winning to basically lock up the AL East now before their annual June swoon, their slump in June and July. So, Joe, how crazy is it that analytics and things like Fangraphs and things like that can already predict the AL East division title? It was just 8 games into the season.
Yeah, and I take a lot of stock in what Fangraphs says, but I am certainly not taking stock in the fact that the Red Sox are already dead. Yes, they're 2-8 actually right now. And I was listening to something on MLB radio today talking about how Red Sox fans are up in arms and already, creating havoc and complaining and stuff like that. But if anybody thinks that the Red Sox are done at this point and they're not going to be in the thick of the race at the end of the season, I think they're sadly mistaken. And, I know I'm saying this in front of a Yankees fan who would love to see it happen, but there's no way that the Red Sox are going away anytime soon. So yes, the Yankees better keep on winning. Every team goes through slumps over a 162 game season. The Yankees are going to have theirs at some point. The Red Sox have theirs now. And I think that's all it is. Just in June, if the Yankees go on a 2-8 skid, yes, people are going to be upset and a little concerned. But I think because the Red Sox one is right here in the beginning of the season and you don't know what's ahead, I think it's a little more nerve-wracking here. But this is so different than it used to be. And I've shared this before on this show. I probably told you that back in the day, 20, 30 years ago, it was exactly the opposite. The Yankees would always get off to slow starts. And, in high school and college, I would, this would be my only chance all season to pick on my friends that were, I was a Mets fan, they were Yankee fans, and to laugh and say, oh, that's it. The Yankees are going to stink this year. They're not going anywhere. And I actually believed it. But then it was like Charlie Brown kicking the football, because every summer they would go like 40-10 in July and August and be unbeatable the rest of the season and do what the Yankees always did. So this is so opposite the last few years of what happens. And, they start well in April and May, and then you were just talking about that June swoon, and they struggle over the summer. So, it'd be interesting to see. Again, they're not going to have a total swoon, but don't be surprised if sometime in June or July, the Yankees have their 2-8 stretch as well. Every team gets it at some point. And, even the Dodgers have periods in the last few years where people say, oh my goodness, is this maybe the year where somebody passes them, and the Padres or the Giants last year or whatever? Is this the year? Because it could be. And then the same thing happens. Just the Dodgers don't lose from September on, and they're unbeatable. So, again, it's everybody, including the Dodgers, including the Yankees, goes through this. And sometimes teams recover, sometimes don't. All right, look at the Mets last year. The Mets started great halfway through the season. We're one of the best teams in baseball, and hit a skid in July and never recovered from it. So some teams recover, some teams don't. Again, the Red Sox are going to recover from this. I strongly believe it. The Yankees will go through their 2-8 stretch. They're a great team. They're going to recover from it. So I think this year the Mets go through their 2-8 stretch. They'll recover from it. It's, certain teams don't. A team like the Blue Jays, I think when they go through their 2-8 stretch, that's when they kind of fall off the wayside. Not that they're not a good team, because they're off to a good start this year, and they're proving that maybe they're not ready to go away yet. But, you got a guy named Guerrero in your lineup. You're always in the mix. But still, the Red Sox are long, a long way from being written off. And I'm kind of surprised that Fangraphs did that, just because maybe they're saying at this pace they would do that. But as much stock as I do take in Fangraphs and all of those, statistical sites there, Baseball Savant, all that stuff, I don't take stock in the fact that the Red Sox are gone yet.
Mm-hmm. And how, I think you already answered this, but how accurate are these numbers, do you think?
Yeah, I think it's just a projection, as, again, a pace thing. Again, as far as StatCast numbers and all the information that Fangraphs and Baseball Reference and all those places have, and again, I'm only just discovering those in the last couple of years, and really, kind of making a commitment this year to really dig into those stats and get to know them a little bit, especially since it's so easy to access now. And, I've learned a lot of computer things and spreadsheets that, computer programs where I can kind of put this to use and to work. So, that's another reason I'm very interested in them. So I take a lot of stock in what Fangraphs and Baseball Reference and all of Baseball Savant, all of those things. I think they're gold. But I think here they're just making a pace projection that a team with as high quality as the Red Sox, I think it would be foolish to think that they're going away anytime soon.
Mm-hmm. Anyway, we're going to move on to one of the Yankees AAA prospects. Has Spencer Jones not really improved? That he needs to get him a call up to the MLB. Anyway, after all the success Spencer Jones had in spring training, it's been back to life, back to reality for the prospect, looking to make his big league debut sooner rather than later. It's true that the 6'7" lefty is slugging 480, and while he's batting a modest 240 in 6 games, he's still striking out way too much. He cut that down in spring training, and now he's back to old habits. It's kind of
That's
weird.
not good.
But I mean, you don't know. Is it the ABS overturning his balls for strikes? Is he still whiffing at it? Is he not figuring out the strike zone with the ABS? I'm going to ask that later, Joe. But I think the ABS factors into that now, too.
Hey, remind me about ABS because I meant to talk about this during my Mets segment here. But it had an effect on the game today. So I'm going to let you finish and just remind me because I forgot to say it before, but I want to share a situation about how ABS affected a game today.
Yeah. Oh, we have a surprise guest on, everybody. Dylan wants to come on. Dylan Schmittler. Hey, Dylan, how you doing?
Oh, hey guys. By the way, Joe, you're probably happy that the Mets played at what was it, 4 o'clock today?
Yes, I got to watch most of the game. I was even more happy that they won.
Yeah, and what's going on with the Yankees tonight?
They were up 1-0, but I don't know now.
I heard last check it was 3-1. We were wondering if one of you guys, or if you guys would join us.
Yeah, I'm gonna come on open mic after. But,
Okay. Do you guys need the link?
I do. I'm going to join you guys tonight. If you could
too.
send the link in the main thing, then we're both going to be heading over there after this.
Let me see. Invite. I'm gonna message you in StreamYard, so you should get it in the studio chat.
Okay. Thank you, Dylan. We'll see you.
All right. See ya.
All right. We'll be there shortly.
Okay. Anyway, that was Dylan, folks. Anyway. So anyway, the 24-year-old is striking out 55.6% and is just hasn't caught and just hasn't come through in the field into the head yet. Even if he were to cut his strike zone in half, he's still not producing enough walks when he's walking at a 30% rate. So he's striking out 55% and walking only 30%. I don't know. We'll see. Jones needs to stop being a flash in the pan and finally become that consistent player he has to be if he wants to be a full-time New York Yankee. While it is not too late for him to turn it around, he may just show enough for him to be dealt at the deadline and may make his major league debut in another jersey by then. But so, Joe, how frustrating is it that it seems Spencer Jones just always seems to show flashes and not bring that firepower to make it with the Yankees and have that firepower to be a consistent hitter and with him just striking out a lot of time? I feel like he's got the Aaron Judge symptom a little bit, but I wonder, but that's what I'm saying. I want your
Yeah, it always is frustrating. Again, when you got a guy with so much potential and then they take a few steps forward, but then they take a few steps back. And just when you think maybe they're getting to the point where they need to be or where the Yankees need them to be, it's frustrating when they take steps back. So it happens. It happens to a lot of them. And if he's good enough, he's going to learn from it and he's going to figure it out like all the other great ones did. So it's up to him to work through it hey, I'm a teacher. So I repeat this all the time. If you're going to make mistakes, that's not a problem. You just got to learn to fix them and then to take the steps forward that you need to take and to be able to learn how to do that. And if he's good enough, he will.
And Joe, how come it doesn't, no one is mentioning that Jones's numbers could be because of the ABS challenge system?
I don't think the ABS has that kind of effect on a player, because I can't think of any major league players that are good today because they got questionable calls. Every single player, gets extended at bats because of bad call, of calls that should have been strikes that weren't. And every single player loses potential hits because they get a strike called against them that shouldn't have. So that's been going on for baseball history. I don't think the ABS, to be honest with you, has that kind of effect on a player. To be honest with you, I'll share my story real quick and then I'll get back to it. Now, the Mets were winning the game today, right? And Arizona was fighting. They had guys on base. This is in the 5th inning when they scored their runs. Called third strike, third out on the Arizona player. He challenges the call. It gets overturned because they said it was a ball. He gets on base, and Arizona scores 2 runs at that time. If it wasn't for the ABS, they would have called the inning. It was over, and the Mets would have been winning, 3-1. And, Arizona didn't score any runs the rest of the game. Now, I'm not saying this as a criticism. I'm saying this as a praise. Yes, it went against my team today. They were out of the inning and were about to win the game. And instead, the call gets overturned. The team scores 3 runs and goes ahead. So, but justice was served. And that's exactly why ABS belongs in this game, because Arizona would have got gypped in that game and could have potentially lost the game because of a bad call. And that was proven because then the call was overturned, as it should have been, and they scored runs. They ended up losing the game anyway. But there is the perfect first time I've seen this since ABS started in the first 2 weeks of the season, where it actually impacted the game. And again, I'm saying it impacted the game in a positive way, but it kind of did almost determine the outcome.
Mm-hmm. Well, looks like we come to the end of our show. So, Joe, where can we find you in the social media AI world we live in on Tuesday, April 7th, 2026, the first Tuesday and first Subway Conversation chat of April?
Yeah, which is hard to believe already that we're a third or a quarter of the way through 2026. Didn't it just start, right? 2026 just started, but here we are a quarter of the way through it. But anyway, you can find me, Joe Dell Sports. April is a great time for sports. So I am commenting not only about baseball here, but the hockey and the basketball that's going on as well. So plenty of that you could find, statistical stuff, my own takes on it, Joe Dell Sports on Twitter X. And on this network here, catch us on Open Mic in a few minutes as well.
Mm-hmm. You guys can find me on Bill's Chat 1 at Bill's Mafia Chat. And also at Jamie Molloy, the unbiased journalist at DJ Dog Tags on X, BuffaloDown.com, TheForkBall.com, Driving to the Top Productions, and also the Huddle Sports Network, where I talk all sports. Please don't forget to subscribe to our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and comment, and ring the bell for all notifications. For more content, including the Subway Conversation chat on Driving to the Top Productions, you can visit us on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, X, wherever you get your podcasts. And along with Joe Dalio, I'm Jamie Molloy, and this has been another episode of the Subway Conversation chat here on Driving to the Top Productions. We will see you next Tuesday, folks, at 8:00 p.m. Good night, everybody.
All right. Have a great week.